The gig economy is one of the upcoming industries in the world. It is an economic system of market in which organizations open up positions for temporary, contractual, or short term employment or work, giving rise to gig workers. This type of work include people engaged in occupations that are part-time, temporary, platform working people who use websites or apps to match themselves with need of employers, freelance workers, agricultural workers, self-employed workers, etc. The word gig is a jargon for a job that lasts for a limited or specified time. It was originally used by musicians or comedians when they received a spot for their performance in some place. Today, gig economy is concerned with people engaged in information technology and research and development sectors. Occupations that require working online or exchange of knowledge and information doesn't necessarily require to go to a physical workplace. But it isn't a new concept at all. People have been engaged in gig working for decades. For example, in primary sector, contractual labor at the time of harvest, or in the tertiary sector, people engage in babysitting, or simply when people are engaged in multiple jobs like being Uber drivers, freelance designer, data entry clerks all at the same time, hence being a part of the gig economy. But how did this happen? How did the economy of the world shifted from primary to secondary to tertiary to quaternary to quinary sectors, giving rise to other different economies such as informal, self-help, and even gig? Hardt and Negri, in their book Empire, write extensively on informatization, describing the shifts in the paradigms from primary sector that included dominant agricultural production and mining to the secondary sector that included dominant industrial production, which claimed to be the modernization of the economy. This didn't mean that agriculture would disappear, but only continued by the developing countries. When the phase of modernization ended, it gave rise to a new phase of post-modernization that included service and information sectors. The tertiary sector claiming to be informatizing the economy. These services covered a huge variety of employment, that of healthcare, education, finance, transportation, and much more. But knowledge, information, and communication are central to this sector. The onset of post-modernization was characterized by the use of knowledge and technology and inclined towards the service economy model and info-industrial model. Countries like US, UK, Canada were the ones that saw a rapid decline in industrial jobs and rise in the service sector. Countries like Germany or Japan saw a rather slow decline in the employment in the industrial sector. But it is to be noted that both these sectors were moving in the direction of informatization of the economy. Soon, the subordinate countries understood that they were being kept from the economic advancements and competitions, since they were only engaged in primary and secondary activities. So, they started including themselves in the competition. That made maintaining their economies even harder. That is the reason for their slow growth, as they maintained the status of developing countries. And the developed countries only grew. Now that the nature of economy had shifted, different quality and nature of labor was required with computers, technology, and internet. Most of the services were based on the continuous exchange of knowledge and information, and the final product created wasn't a material one. Hence, the labor involved in this type of production was called an immaterial labor, a symbolic analytical service, problem solving, problem identifying, and strategic brokering activities. And this type of labor claims the highest value. The increase in the informational economy saw a decentralization of production. It made distances irrelevant. Workers could now communicate and cooperate effectively without having to be there physically. And we know the story from here of how the internet took over the world. This gave rise to the gig economy. There are many occupations that come under the gig economy. Some of them can be grocery delivering, ride sharing, delivering in general, car rental, parking, pet sitting, babysitting, home renting, freelance writing, blogs or ebooks, art, design and crafting, photographer, videos, voice work, and more. Other than these, the professional workers become a part of the gig economy by working part time for different people or organizations. Just like any other sector of the economy, the gig sector also has its own advantages and disadvantages. Some of the pros are the gig work acts as an extra source of income. Sometimes it helps in pursuing the dream. It is very easy to enter these kinds of jobs market. It helps in the reduction of unemployment. It increases self-sufficiency, promotes innovations and ideas, generates income, helps in balancing job and family. And it also promotes autonomy and control as the person becomes their own boss. Some of the disadvantages: there is not enough payment, there are lack of benefits in medical, retirement, there is very less insurance. Sometimes it's not enough to pay taxes or expenses. There is a potential of stress and burnout. Independent workers could be rejected of full payment. Work life balance could be disrupted. And unable to develop a full time job, leading to an inconsistent wage and no job security, can take a toll on a person. If a person has too many gigs lined up, it can get difficult in scheduling and going on with every one of them. It is also difficult to maintain long term relations with workers and employers. The gig economy has a feminist aspect to it as well. It generates additional income to the family. Women become independent decision makers. Self identity and belonging is enhanced. There is assurance of payment. Since there is flexibility, independence, women try new jobs, find new opportunities. It helps in training and internships. The gig economy has a great potential. It is meaningful to the people who are engaged in this sector. It is rewarding and not just in the monetary sense. It enables gig workers to explore their creative sides and deliver the best they have to offer. One of the biggest advantage is that it is integrated with technology. People trying to explore various professions find a place for them to get employment, for example, through apps like Urban Company or Uber, etc. Workplaces are changing, and India, for one, has seen major transformations. The gig economy inculcates confidence and potential in the workforce because it rejects the traditional employer and employee relation, creates autonomy and flexibility, and gives more freedom and control to the worker. And it sure does hold some future in the Indian economy. I would like to present two examples of gig workers in the city of Delhi. The differentiating feature between these two cases is one of class. The first case is of two brothers from an agricultural village with menial education background that migrated to the city. One of them learned to sew clothes and started working with the local tailor. The other continuously migrated back and forth between the village during the sowing and harvesting seasons to work as a contractual labor, and in the city for any job available which required selling his labor, like construction or painting jobs. The tailor's apprentice isn't paid a monthly salary but according to how many clothes he sewed. His wage is menial, but the job acts as a security, only to find out during the lockdown that he wasn't able to save enough money to last him for the entirety. The farmer turned mason turned farmer is also paid a menial wage. There is no sense of security in his job or life since construction sites are dangerous arenas. The second case is of a family living in a city where both the husband and wife are engaged in the gig economy. Both are well educated and have been part of financially stable families but opted for gig employment. The man is an independent documentary filmmaker. With his educational and experiential background, he is able to acquire gigs. These jobs might pay a lot, but it takes a lot of patience to wait for an opportunity to come out that is related to your field of research. There is a chance of burnout, a possibility of unable to save enough money for the future. Regardless, the man follows his passion. The woman is hired as a contractual teacher in a school. She feels that her employer wouldn't grant her a permanent job, but she loves being a teacher. So there is a sense of insecurity. She also has a side business of selling clothes, which isn't very successful, but sure does help in increasing the family income. In both the cases, the future is uncertain for all four people. Only the people originally from urban areas and a strong background might live more comfortably than the ones from the rural area.